Boston-born musician Chadwick Stokes achieved global fame through the indie band Dispatch, which shunned the major labels to become one of the biggest independent music acts in the country. They even shut down Storrow Drive for a free concert at the Hatshell in 2004. Today, Stokes continues to make music through his solo project, Chadwick Stokes and the Pintos, using his music as a platform for global activism. Here's a look at a recent performance for Front Row Boston, a music series produced right here at WGBH.
I seen all around me a man do hateful things, and he's still walking around, you see, while the good one's gone. Some say there was no mistake, some say they wanted that man to be hung for falling in love with a white woman and caring for her infant son. And when he was first captured, she cried, "Don't take him, you don't know. We'll never have my bones. We'll be bleaching on the prairie, my children with little crow." I've been fighting with this notion that the world does a good man will. I've seen all around me a man do hateful things, and he's still walking around, you see, while the good one's gone.
Chadwick Stokes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Over the course of your career, you've always had this political nature to your work, but it seems like you're going full throttle now. I assume that's not by accident, given our times.
Yeah. It's not a good time to be quiet. I think, for all of us, it's an important time to stand up and say what we feel, and all us normal folk need to rally.
Well, how do you do that? How do you feel you can do that effectively through music?
Well, music gives us a platform, which most people don't have. So sometimes you can kind of have this backdoor approach of people coming for the music, and then you expose them to this or that at the merch table, or I say something from the stage, or we do a service project beforehand where people are invited to join us. So it is a great tool to use to get people together.
Well, you've gone back into history with some of your songs, Joan of Arc probably most notably on your new album. I mean, how is that process for you to go back into history, or are they stories that have just sat with you for a long time and this is the time to go back into them?
Songs usually start for me as a bit of a jumble, and I don't really know what the song wants to be about until there's some, some lyric kind of presents itself, and I said, "Oh, okay, I think that's what this song is about." And I'm always been interested in history and the stories within history. One small story can tell so much about the history of a country. So I've always been into telling those small stories, and like so many artists before me. Bruce Springsteen is amazing at seems to sometimes write a novel within a 3-minute song.
You've just made me realize a question I've never asked a songwriter. For all of us who write, you typically come in long. Does that happen with song too, that you have to edit yourself down to the 3 to 6? Or 2 to 6?
Usually. My demos I send off to bandmates and are twice as long as they should be. And even Dispatch's most famous song, The General, had a third verse that Pete and Brad cut, and I was like, okay, so I do need editing.
Well, how do you know when a song is finished? I've talked to so many painters who say they're not ever, a lot of them say they're not sure when a painting is finished, but do you know definitively when a song is done?
When I'm writing, I'm like, okay, I might have to sing this song very many times, so I want to put lyrics in it that I want to sing. And so that's another thing, is like, okay, this is the lyric for the song. Is it interesting enough to me that I won't mind singing it for years and years and years? So that's kind of another kind of quality control.
Reminded me that I got sent from San Francisco in my band.
I understand, kind of holed up for a winter, going back to where you grew up to write this album?
Yes.
Is that what you have to do to kind of isolate yourself?
Yeah, that's ideal. It's not that practical. I have 3 little kids right now, and so there's a lot more parenting going on than kind of sequestering.
Having 3 kids, I would imagine that has a pretty big, significant impact on how you're writing now and what you're thinking about in terms of music.
Yeah, it does. I mean, some of it's just like, okay, I just put the 2-year-old down for a nap. I have 2 hours to try to dive into this song and make it something. So it's kind of piecemeal in that way. But content-wise, there's a lot of like, a lot of things you realize about your own father, or as you're raising a son, or I have 2 girls.
Do you find that you're writing now mindful of what they'll be thinking of your work as they come of age and start listening to their dad?
Not yet. I mean, they're not really. I mean, there'll be moments where I'm singing or goofing around, and they're just saying, "Dad, stop singing," and so they don't really care right now.
Traveled the country extensively. You've lived internationally, Zimbabwe. You've done a lot in terms of raising money and philanthropy for Zimbabwe. How do you keep aware now, and how do you keep invested in what's really roiling?
I mean, right now it's so easy to. There's so much nonsense going on. It's the news is incredible to watch. So I guess I've been focusing more domestically. Our organization, Calling All Crows, that we started about 10 years ago, we've been trying to curb the sexual violence that happens at shows in the industry, in the music industry.
Let me just ask you about that, because I've read about that, and it wasn't something I was familiar with. What happens?
Yeah, so it's as a guy, you don't really, we're a little out of it. It's taken me a while to learn just the reality of being a woman in this country and what they face growing up and the constant fear that they may deal with. We've had our people from our organization go down to take a survey at Bonnaroo about people who have have you had any sexual violence or harassment happen to you at a show, and the statistics were like 90% of anyone we asked, and 90% of women who we asked. But it's not just women; it's men too. But there's a different reality when you're a woman at a concert. We've been doing these bystander trainings where we've trained a few thousand people, given them the tools so that they know what to do in those situations.
I would imagine the culture is changing faster now, especially in light of the Me Too movement?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been wonderful to see, some really huge promotion companies say to us, actually we don't have a protocol for that, or would you like to come to our festival and do a training for our staff, or stuff like that. And different venues have asked us to do that too.
I want to ask about a concert that happened right down the road here, a huge moment for you in Dispatch in 2004.
Yeah.
We all remember shutting down Storrow Drive because more than 100,000 people showed up. How does that sit with you? I mean, how do you move beyond a moment like that, and how do you expect that you'll return to a moment like that?
That was such a crazy day. I usually say, we might as well have been playing in front of a brontosaurus. You had no idea how to process that. We had no idea it was going to be that many people, and I was really just trying to get through the show, and it was our last show, so it was like, I was pretty steadfast in like thinking, okay, that's it, that what a nice way to have a sunset for this band. But And of course, 4 years went by, then we played one show, and then 4 years went by, we played 2 shows. So it started kind of creeping back in. But
There's got to be an addiction there, especially when you're at the Hat Shell and you've got the city in your thrall.
Yeah, it's crazy. That was crazy. And there's talks about maybe doing it again or you know, some kind of anniversary. And right now it's so fun to talk to people who were there because now 2004 is like some distance behind us, right? So now it's like they're, you know, these... you know, dads and coming to me and moms saying, you know, I was there, you know, or we met, I was there, you know, she and I met there, and it was really an acute moment, you know, in our lives.
And you were present for it? You still remember it vividly? Even though you were
Not
working?
Quite, yeah. I remember my pedal board going out on me and going down and just trying to figure out, like, you know, plugging stuff in. It's tricky now because there was a movie about it, you know, and we were involved in editing the movie and stuff. So I feel like some of my memories are that more than actually being there. So it was a bit of a blur. The whole day was kind of crazy.
Before I end, I have to return to something you just said. So there is a chance that you could do it again. You're open to it at least.
Yeah. I would be nervous that it would just be such a, you know, a shadow of itself. So I'm like, don't even touch it. It was such an anomaly. But now that, you know, playing with Dispatch in the last couple of years has been, you know, we've had like a resurgence. So lately we've been playing a lot more. So it's possible.
Next year is Sweet 16. We'll leave you with that. Chadwick Stokes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
The only thing I know is I got to drive as I watch the telephone poles tick by. Passing all the seas and so past the mountains where it suddenly gets cold and then down again. Without the wind into the plains of gold. Now I got sun from San Francisco in my veins. Well, I'd love to get back there someday if I can. But right now I'm at ease. Don't know if I'll ever believe that I will get back there again. Now I got San Francisco in my bed. Lord, I love to get back there.